so excited. So freaking excited about what I'm here to talk about today. I just had the most profound quantum healing meditation. For those who don't know, I do a lot of quantum healing work, and basically, what that is connecting to the quantum field, which you may have heard. It's like a very hot topic these days. And so it's the field of infinite possibilities. It's the energetic field that literally connects all of us and everything, everyone. Um, it's what transcends time and space, instead of like the paradigm that we live in here, so grounded and anchored into the three-dimensional reality. The quantum field is expanding way beyond that and into different fields, obviously. And so um it's just, I don't want to get into that exactly. I just dove into talking about that because I want to share one of the, like, today's tool that I guided myself through was so profound. And I feel like it's going to be very beneficial for so many people out there, which is why I was like, you know what? It's like 11 o'clock at night here. I'm in London right now in the UK, and I want to share it. I want to talk about this. So, if you are someone who finds yourself stuck with money, maybe you feel like a really inconsistent relationship to it, like these ups and downs and roller coasters. You don't feel like you can fully trust it. You don't feel fully supported by it. You feel like there's never enough. Maybe you have feelings like guilt or shame or unworthiness around money, around receiving, around, having more, having what you deserve. And this I love this necklace. I was like, "I have to fix it." Um, I got it here in Notting Hill, so it was beautiful. But, if you have any of those relationship struggles with money and you find yourself in that situation, then this video is gonna be super helpful for you, and I can't wait to dive in and share more because what's really powerful, and regardless of if you know what quantum healing is, or if you've tried it before, or if you have awareness of your past lives or anything like that, this you could be like a total noob to it, or you could be like deep in that world, in that realm. But regardless, what's so powerful is the fact that our minds and the identity, the stories, the subconscious things that we're holding on to really deeply show up and affect us. And so, as you can see by the title, the orphan girl versus the queen, like these are two very polar opposite archetypes in the world, and they have very different levels of consciousness. So you can imagine what, like, an orphan girl syndrome, orphan girl child, that kind of paradigm, that kind of level of consciousness, how that would show up in the world is so incredibly different to how the queen would show up. And the archetype, the embodiment of the queen energy would be radically different, right? I'm hoping you're getting a good little visual here. And so in the meditation I did today, because I'm currently launching my Aligning with Abundance course, which is super exciting. This is something I've only released to my high end mastermind and my private coaching clients in the past, and I've decided to offer it to the public. And for this week only, I'm giving it at $500 off, over $500 off. Plus, the first three people get access to a private quantum healing session with the session that I'm going to be sharing on this video today, and diving into and showing you like the like the incredible things that came through from it. So, with that said, I've been in the energy of abundance, in the energy of mindset, in the energy of money, in terms of mindset, in terms of energy, especially the last few weeks as I moved out of LA and into London, into the UK for the summer. And I've just been like really grounding in, really deep in my own meditation practices, uncovering and healing and releasing like some crazy stuff, really, really doing this deep inner work. And leading up to releasing Aligning with Abundance, I've been revisiting a lot of my own practices and a lot of the tools and techniques that I share inside that program. And so that led me to today. I was like, you know what? I really, really want to do this. I want to revisit this quantum healing technique. And so in this method that I'm going to be explaining and sharing the transformations within, um, it's staged, it's looked at as like entering a house. And so we all have structures in our consciousness and things that we hold on to, that we ground into and anchor into. And so if you close your eyes right now and you just think about your personal relationship to money, and then imagine as if it's like a visual of a house in front of you, what does that house look like? And if you're watching this live, please feel free to comment. If you're catching this on the replay later, please feel free to share in the replay. I'm always checking in on the comments and I love interacting and talking with all of you. So, um, we have this awareness of what our money story is, or what, house we're living in when it comes to money. And so is it a house of lack and poverty, or is it a house of abundance, right, and overflow and wealth? And so in this method, what we do is really shift and restructure from that house of lack and bring you into the house of abundance. There's a fly in here. It's like it's been in here like all day. It's driving me crazy. But um we have the option of which house are we going to reside in? Which house are we going to live in? The house of lack or the house of wealth? And so what you will be fascinated by, and this is why I'd love for comments if you've done this work or not, like, let me know. But what you would probably be really fascinated by is no matter how many times you do this work, what can be uncovered, what can be unearthed, can be so profound. And so I've been doing a lot of this work for years now, and still the things that came out today, and they came out with so much ease. So I was guiding myself through this meditation, through this healing session, and I'm walking through my house, right? And keep in mind, this is like my visual representation of my money story. And it's like how I respond to money, how I see money. And so a year ago when I practiced this, I saw just like this tiny little shack that was like literally falling down. And this was at a time when I was like over $50,000 in debt. I had maxed out all my credit cards. Couldn't even pay for groceries, had to move back home pre-pandemic. And so um, my energetic signature, my connection to money at that time was very limited, very lack. And like it was, yeah, I literally could see just like this beaten down shack. There's nothing in it. It was very representative of how I was currently feeling with money. Now, every time I've done this practice, that house has gotten bigger, it's gotten nicer, it's shifted, but there's always still been some limitations, or there's always still been some little things that need fixing up. And I think it's so representative of our general relationship to money is constantly growing, constantly elevating and being, fixed in a sense and healed. And our general relationship to anything is always constantly going to be evolving. So that is normal. Now, what was so profound though is so today in the practice, hi, hi from Florida. Awesome. I bet it's so nice there right now. So what happened today in the practice is as I was guiding myself through, I'm walking in this house and I'm looking in these different rooms and I'm just observing, what are my money blocks? What are the things that are showing up and I'm seeing in this house? What am I interpreting? What's coming through? And so firstly, I just noticed a lot of stuff was kinda still falling apart. It was this huge, beautiful house. It actually looked very similar to a house I used to babysit at, on my street that was built and designed after the house from The Notebook. So it was like this massive house with huge windows and shutters and, like the big column pillars at the front. But it had a lot of things falling apart. It had a lot of work that still needed to be restructured. And so as I walked through this house and I'm going inside it and I'm seeing like, oh, this house has not been cleaned for quite some time. It's like pretty dirty. There's a lot of grime and grit and like soot and stuff. And my initial thought was like, Well, I mean, that's also very representative of, if we avoid looking at certain things, the dust and dirt is going to pile up. And so for me, it was like, hey, we're coming back to clean, we're coming back to work through these new blocks, these new money beliefs and stories that are coming from your current up leveling. So we're bringing ourselves back to that. Now, the part that was crazy, and this is where I started to go into past lives. And I've had experiences with this before doing quantum healing as well as in breath work, where I've had these experiences of this deep inner knowing of like, this is a past life connection. And then um, so I've had really big ties to Egypt for years now, and even when I was a little girl, I always had this really strong pull there because of the energies and I always felt like, yeah, this energetic connection there. And what I've uncovered over the last like several years now through this work is like there was a past life connection here. And with that said, we are all energy. Everything is particles. It's made up of particles and electrons, and everything is connected to each other, and energy never dies. It can't be destroyed. It just changes form and changes shape. And so, with that said, in all reality, every single one of us is connected to like every other culture, every previous timeline, all these different things because we're all just existing from the same particles, the same matter. And so, um, the whole point, and I'll get into it. The whole point of the title of this video is that like every single one of us has been the orphan girl or boy as well as the queen or the king. Like we have been both of those aspects. I totally missed that comment. I'll check it on later, but thank you so much for sharing. We've been both of those aspects. We've been all of it. And so now, one of the rooms that I walked into in this meditation today, I walked in and I was looking at the specific money block or money belief, the unworthiness wound of like not feeling worthy of money and not feeling worthy of receiving. And as I walked in the door of this house and I looked down and I saw like this orphan girl, and it kind of looked like a younger version of me, not necessarily like straight up, but it was still like I had the connection of like, this is a part of me, a part of my consciousness, whether it's a past life, whether it's a just a subconscious reflection of what I'm internally feeling sometimes, right? Who knows? But I went and I saw this and like as I'm seeing myself, present self, looking down at this orphan child, she's sitting in the corner of a room, like with her arms around wrapped around her knees, covered in dirt, like hasn't really showered or had access to a lot of things. And um definitely feel like you were queen in a past life. Yeah, you were. We all were. We all have been that royalty. So it's activating those royal codes back in us now that allows us to restructure our consciousness to this version of us and to remember ultimately. And so so many of us have forgotten because of the programming, because of the society and the matrix that we live in, we've forgotten who we truly are. And so we see ourselves more as like the orphan child or the beggar or, the person who's stuck in lack and doesn't have the resources they need. And so as I'm doing the meditation, I see the orphan girl, I see her sitting there, and I get these flashes of how she was begging on the street. She was totally on her own, had nothing, and, seeing these flashes of her, begging and asking and not receiving anything. And so you can imagine if that's an experience that any single one of us has had, we're naturally going to create beliefs in the energetic signature that matches that, that tells us we're not worthy. It tells us we don't deserve to receive, or it closes us off from even believing that receiving is possible. So, this like energetic guard gets put up in our consciousness around even letting money in because there's this part of us that's going, you don't deserve it, or like it's not going to happen, and it's pulling us back into that old timeline. And so, what we can do with quantum healing is heal those timelines and really shift. and break free from those paradigms. So in today's practice, I'm merging old timelines, present timelines, future timelines. It's all the same. Past, present, future is just a human construct with time, but like it all exists right now energetically. And so I'm merging all of these to really heal and repair this old structure and this orphan child syndrome, this feeling of unworthiness, this feeling of not being able to receive or not being deserving of it. And so what was extra, extra cool, this is where the queen comes in, is that at this point, I was like, you know what? I want to bring in the queen because I've always resonated with that. I've been rebirthing into the queen for like the last year during these quantum healing sessions, really activating and reactivating and remembering the queen codes that are within me and bringing that forward into my consciousness, into my present moment awareness so that I can embody it and feel it and show up from that energy. And so I decided, like, I'm going to bring the queen forward and into this scene here and allow the queen to like connect with this inner child, with this orphan child, because there's something going on here. Um, if you can manifest, why do you want money? Because, like, as of right now, we still do live in a monetary society. Money's just energy, so we could manifest anything, manifest more food, manifest more water, manifest shelter, but money is just another resource and it's just another avenue that can allow us to call in more of that or to create more of what it is we're here to do. But I do agree that a lot of the money, the um, what's the word? A lot of the like current paradigm with money is shifting and changing. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens because old structures are breaking down like crazy. But currently, money is still a tool and still a resource that can be used. And so I'm all about learning how to connect to it more and use it for good and use it to change the planet and shift things into where we're going, where we're headed into a new reality. So now coming back to the meditation, when I brought in the queen energy, there was this huge, huge connection, this huge moment. And I started just like bursting into tears where the orphan girl who was feeling again so unworthy. And then you've got like this regal queen version who's like sitting here and like knows her worth, has so much abundance, is but not in like a bad way, as a lot of us because of our money stories might see money as bad or greedy, but it was like just very like present, aware, abundant, grounded, loving and compassionate still. Um, and what I saw and what came through in the download was that these were both aspects of me, like these are both parts, and I've experienced both. And the reason that I had to experience the lifetime, the existence as the orphan girl was so that when I experienced the being a queen and having that kind of level of wealth and abundance, I would continue to have the compassion, I would continue to have the empathy, the connection, and the service to then make a difference and make a positive impact and help those who were less fortunate. And so I could see, and this is where we can get really deep into like why people do things the way that they do them and why some people in the world do act and live and operate from a place of greed and like what they're trying to create or what kind of void they're trying to fill. Now, for me, it was like, wait, this is why you experience the struggle though, because then when you could experience the huge expanse of abundance and all of these other things, you would still be loving and kind to every single person. You wouldn't hold judgment. You would be able to give back and actually utilize those finances, utilize that wealth for something really positive. And that was what was so cool to see, like, again, my present day self observing this, and then the orphan girl experiencing one reality, the queen experiencing a totally different reality, and being able to merge all those timelines together to have a level of forgiveness, a level of compassion, a level of connection, a level of gratitude for all of it, and actually just feeling overwhelmed of like, wow, all of this, everything that has been experienced was always perfect and it was always part of the design to benefit in all these different lifetimes and benefit the way I was showing up and what was being created. And so what I invite every single one of you to like think on is not only what kind of current level of consciousness are you operating from? So, as I mentioned at the beginning, do you find yourself slipping into a place of lack all the time and always feeling like there's never enough and stressed or struggling about it, right? Or do you live from like a glass half full kind of mindset? This was another thing that came up in one of the different rooms in the meditation when I was moving through the house. I saw another version of me, another part or another self, and the programming that that version of me had, and the glass half empty mentality. And I watched as my higher self and the queen together were literally like taking it was like a golden key, and they were moving it through this version of me through the head to like it was like flicking a switch, right? They're switching the programming, and as this was happening, I literally in my physical body felt my whole head got this overwhelming rush of like white and gold light. And in that moment, I immediately had this huge smile on my face and I was like, wow, like this is the switch, right? Because so many of us again have been programmed into that glass half empty. So no matter how many things we have, we're still focusing on what's missing, or we're still struggling, or we're still kind of grumbling and gloomy or unhappy because it's not enough. And with this, it was like, hey, we're going to switch that version of you as well, who had been so caught up over here, and, really doing the reprogramming in all these different levels. So I had like five different rooms that I guided myself throughout the meditation today. Every single room brought up a different block, and then a different shift and a different like level of consciousness that was then being implanted and reprogrammed in there. And so as I finished this meditation, I just felt like so many of the weights had been lifted, and I was able to again connect to these past timelines. Get rid of that notification. I was able to connect to these past timelines and these old structures that had still been like locked deep back in here somewhere and keeping me attached to these old stories, keeping me kind of like from showing up fully, right? And from being like in my full next level awareness, next level self, and doing this massive inner work to shift it, this energetic work to shift it. So it was very profound. And I wrote, I was going to show this earlier, but then I was like, it doesn't really matter. And I don't even know where it is anymore. But like, I had the longest note, all about the things that came through on this, the wealth creation. It's like, I don't know if you can see it, but like, so many different things came through in that meditation of different blocks, paradigms. Oh my gosh, it's actually longer than I thought it was. In shifting out of that old way of being. And so, what is so cool about this work? If you haven't caught on, I think it's really cool. What is so cool about this work is that with every single practice, we're able to uncover new layers and peel them away, release them, shift them, right? And so, doing this on a daily basis, seriously, which is what I did when I first started it last year, like every day spending 2 to 3 to 4 hours just in this like deep mind space, in this deep connective meditation, inside the quantum field, inside that realm where all possibilities exist and where we can uncover we're connected to past, present, future. We're connected to like intergalactic. We're connected to all the different things that exist right now in this human experience that most of us aren't even aware about and I'm still learning about. We're connected to all of it. And so in these hours of doing that work, I could just constantly shift and reprogram and up level and restructure my consciousness to see myself in a new light, to see the world in a new light, to therefore be able to respond differently, to be able to attract differently because now I'm carrying different energy, different codes, different alignment, different beliefs of what's possible, what's available to me, what's realistic, right? You start to operate from a higher dimensional frequency instead of staying in the three-dimensional frequency, which can feel very limiting and it can feel very heavy and it can feel, very dense because it is. And that's what it was designed for, to take all of these circulating particles that make up everything in the universe and condense it into a human being, into the earth, into an animal, into a flower, right? Those particles have to be held in a very dense manner in order to reach that. And when we connect into the quantum field, we're connecting into a place where, like, hey, there's actually some space again and the density is gone. And so we can connect back to all these different things, these different parts, these other parts of ourselves, of our experience, of the electrons that make us up and connect us all. So quantum healing mini lesson. Mostly just a mini ramble. But with that said, I'm going to close this off. If you are someone who is keen to know more about this with quantum healing, definitely check out my Instagram or my website. The link is down below for quantum healing sessions, as well as in the description box, I've shared that Aligning with Abundance is now open to the public, which is so cool. I'm super excited. In there, I have a couple of these different quantum healing meditations to not only connect deeper with money and connect deeper with yourself, to release some of these old paradigms, as well as like tons of subconscious reprogramming tools, different things for you to dive deep into to again restructure your consciousness, to uncover, to pull away the limitations and rebuild yourself up for being open, being a conduit for money, being an energetic match for more abundance. And so, this is something that if you're interested in knowing more, you can definitely check that out. And there's more information about it actually on my Instagram than there is on that link down below. So you can head to my Instagram. It's Real Care Michelle if you want to know more. And yeah, then you also have monthly group calls with me, monthly access to group calls, and some other things as well as the first three. I almost forgot, but the first three people who decide to sign up will get this quantum healing session that I've just kind of shared on this video. I'll be guiding you through a private session as well. So totally for free, included in the abundance program. So, with that said, thank you everyone for listening. And your homework, if I'm going to assign homework or invitation for you, is yeah, just look at the levels of consciousness that are maybe showing up in your life, and especially in money, just because that's what we're specifically talking about today. You can look at it in all areas. So, what are the things? What kind of level of consciousness are you operating from? What is showing up as your primary? Is it that small self? It doesn't have to be like an orphan child, like what came through for me today, but it could just be like a wounded inner child, that small self that's still making you operate from pain or still making you feel unworthy or still coming from fear or doubt or insecurity, right? Or have you been doing the work, shifting and aligning with a higher version of you, a higher self, to see that like you are infinite, you are capable, you are expansive, you are enough, you are abundant, you are confident, you are strong, you are all the things, and allowing you to show up from that place because those two versions of you, much like the orphan girl and the queen, would be operating at very different frequencies, making decisions from a very different place, and really creating so many different things in the world because of those energies. So I invite you to check that out, reflect on it, figure out where you're at. We all have dips and drops. So there's moments where those old things come back up for me, and then it's my job or my practice to become aware, to transmute, to shift, to uncover, and keep rising back and reconnecting to the version of me that I want to be and show up in the world from that place. So um, thank you so much for watching and sending you so much love. And I will check in and I'll be back on here soon.